Hi everyone, I'm Shauna. Welcome into the channel. I'm on my third cup of coffee, so it's a good day. It's only 1:30. It's a good day. Today's video, we're going to talk about a shopping concept, something that I think a lot of us tell ourselves to justify purchases, and that is the "you deserve it" mentality. We're going to talk all about that today. This video was inspired by the one I did a couple of weeks ago about the trying to try mentality, and the other one I had on my mind at that time was the "you deserve it." This is a justification that a lot of us use in order to buy things, and not just makeup. So this "you deserve it" mentality is a pretty simple idea, and I think it tends to apply to things like food, nights out, big purchases, or often just things that we would consider treats or indulgences as well. And a treat or indulgence doesn't have to be food, but we often cater our treats or indulgences to our own interests. So if you're interested in makeup, I could definitely see how the pick-me-up that you might want on your way home could be getting a face mask because you've had a hard day, you need to relax, you deserve it. So this video is going to look a little bit different than the trying to try mentality. And I'm going to be talking about 4 main points in this video. So the first one is how it functions as a coping mechanism. The second is how it links consumption with mood. The third is that it reinforces negative beliefs about ourselves. And 4, how it's a habit, and talking about like really specific instances. And those are the 4 topics I'm going to be talking about under this umbrella of "you deserve it." And before I get into the first point about coping mechanisms, what I want to make clear is that a lot of you wrote in the last video I did, which is maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now, about how you disagreed with that video. You are always welcome to write in and disagree with me. You don't have to agree with me to be on this channel, but I think one of the main points, which is something that seems to be maybe that wasn't quite clear in that video, and you can still disagree with me even on this point, is that in that instance of trying to try, I think a lot of people felt as though I was saying trying period is a bad thing, which is not the message I was trying to communicate. And so in terms of this video, I'm also not advocating that you never in your life buy yourself a treat. And if you do, you're somehow, a shitty person because of it. No, that's not the message I'm trying to communicate. I'm also not advocating a purist perspective in the sense of like creating a black and white stance on this, as in the sense of if you buy yourself treats, you're bad, and if you don't, you're good. No, it's more complicated than that. What I'm trying to do in this video is hopefully help you see, and myself as well, in creating this video, habits and ideas, messages that we tell ourselves that maybe we never saw the behavior or the messaging before. So hopefully I can illuminate that. And like the trying to try video, many of us don't just have this like one bad habit. We often have many bad shopping habits. So I'm hoping by, making this one a little bit clearer, we can, see how it affects our shopping. But also like the trying to try, quite frankly, at least I'll just speak for myself here, I didn't just do this one time or even once a month. It can become a problem if we do it all the time, and can contribute to over shopping and overspending and buying beyond our means, which is something that a lot of us have talked about, we want to stop. So let's talk about how the "you deserve it" mentality can function like a coping mechanism, or is a coping mechanism for some people. In my opinion, what it does at its core is that it links consumption with emotional relief or release. So by that, I mean bad day. So something happens, your triggering event, that creates an emotional response. And then in order to deal with that emotional response, we choose an action or participate in a habit. And while our brains might not be thinking in this exact way of I am doing this thing to cope with the difficult situation, and we might not even be aware that we do it, or the link that's kind of created between the emotional response and the habit or the action, it does often help relieve some of the emotions that we're experiencing, and it does make us feel better. And this is where it becomes a coping mechanism, is when it becomes habitual and we come to lean on this as a habit. You come to rely on this action in order to get that emotional release that it has provided for you. Or even you might do it instinctively, and then you come to rely on this action to help turn your day around. And so I think applying the you deserve it mentality to negative emotions, what I'm talking about here, is more difficult to break, in my opinion. And that is because I think it's overall easier to stop a behavior we do when we're happy or when we're feeling up. But a lot of us try to avoid feeling negative emotions, and we want that feeling to go away as quickly as possible. And so taking away the only or even a major contributor to helping you relieve your emotions or helping them go away, to remove your only source of that or main source of that, can be extremely challenging, especially if you don't have something to put in its place. And so ultimately the point here is that we create this action to help us cope with negative emotions or circumstances or events that happen in our lives, and we do it enough where it can become a habit that is just really challenging to break. Often when we have something like this as a habit, we do it more than we think. And we might see it, it's $3 or $5 or just, $3 this week. But let's say you spent $10 once a month. Let's say roughly $2, $2.50 a week on a small treat. And my suspicion here is that it would be more than $10. Like if you bought 2 treats in a week, or 2 treats in a month, $5 each, sure. So we'll just go with the $10. If you do it $10 once a month, that's $120 a year, which is, I don't know if that's a lot of money to you or a little money to you, but when we are doing the thing in the moment of, I'll just get my Starbucks today, it was a hard day, we often see it in terms of the $5 opposed to it's really a $120 habit. And that number, the $120, the $10 a month, can really add up if we contribute to the you deserve it mentality in other ways. The habit can build over time, and we can come to rely on it more and more each time. And what can be unfortunate about this as like a coping mechanism is the crutch that it provides. Ultimately, this is a way that we've come to deal with our emotions, especially negative ones. And shopping is likely not one that is a positive way to deal with emotions or helpful, in the sense that it doesn't actually address the emotion or address the situation or address negative feelings. It's almost like a deterrent or something that pushes those feelings back, because ultimately you're not actually addressing the emotion because you're shopping. And it could just become more stressful over time if, let's say, you're having a difficult period in your life and more bad things happen. What do you do if you've never actually or rarely address your emotions and instead, decide that you're going to buy some things? I want to now turn to number 2, which is how the you deserve it mentality links consumption with mood. I won't stay here long because I did talk about this a little bit already. There is both enjoyment in purchasing, that rush we get when we make a purchase, that good feeling, which might drive many of us to shop in the first place. And I've heard from a lot of you that shopping is rarely about the thing that you buy itself, but the act of the purchase. And that's what is so thrilling or so enticing, of you just want to buy something or buy something new. And that on its own drives many of us to shop. So when we link it to the you deserve it mentality and also its place as a coping mechanism, there is an additional layer of shopping providing an emotional release for a negative emotion, or when it comes to positive ones, it can make our highs feel higher when we're having a good day or experiencing like some good stuff in our life. The ultimate point here is, I guess, checking in with how your emotions affect the messaging you tell yourself, and then, the consequence of shopping. I don't mean consequences like inherently negatively, but I guess I should say the act of shopping. It's a message that is fundamentally at its core built on an emotion. And it's a message that creates more links between emotions and shopping. What can make this a particularly potent message is that the you deserve it mentality is likely not the first time that we've linked our mood or our emotions to shopping. It's simply another way that we can do that, and which ultimately makes the connections between emotions and shopping, and using shopping as an outlet for emotions or a way to deal with an emotional response. It can make that connection even stronger. Let's talk about reinforcing negative beliefs about ourselves. So buying something because you think you deserve it, and this idea of I deserve it, is ultimately a positive idea, or it's, I guess, on its surface, a positive idea. You are worth it. You are worthy. In most circumstances, telling yourself you're worthy, you're worth it, is a good thing and can enhance confidence and self-esteem. If you're somebody who has low self-esteem or lower self-esteem, telling yourself that you deserve it or you deserve this thing can be one of the few times you are actually sending positive messages to yourself about your own worthiness and personhood. So it could be one of the primary, if not the only way that you give positive messages to yourself, is through shopping or, buying yourself something. So if that's the case, we can teach ourselves that self-esteem comes from consumer behavior or consumer habits, and that we can find our self-esteem and happiness through things, opposed to looking internally and for it coming from yourself and a positive internal valuation, self-love, those things, like the work on the self. So an inward reflection instead of looking externally. So I want to actually talk about really briefly a 2019 article from the Journal of Consumer Research. And what they found is that people with lower self-esteem often bought inferior or low-priced items to reaffirm the beliefs about themselves. And they call this self-verification. So I'm just expanding on their idea by applying it to the you deserve it mentality. They didn't address that in specific. They're talking about shopping habits overall. So it could be something like, in the you deserve it mentality, you deserve something that might be a cookie, or that might be like a pastry from Starbucks. So you deserve that thing, but you don't deserve that much. In the grand scheme of things, a $2 cookie is not the same as even like a $20 lipstick or $150 sweater. I know a lot of people, and this is kind of common in my comment section, like $150 is expensive for a sweater. And I know I've thought this, and I've heard from some of you that you don't feel like you deserve something that expensive or that luxurious. And so coming back to this situation, it's like saying you deserve something, but not that much. The article also found that people with low self-esteem were inclined to self-verify more overall and spend a greater time self-verifying than those with moderate or high self-esteem. So self-verifying, again, is aligning the beliefs about ourselves, the poor self-esteem and negative or poor ideas about ourselves, with a purchase that matches that belief. And so to be more specific on how it applies to the you deserve it mentality is, one, of putting in this circumstance and using the you deserve it as a tool of self-verification, that whether realistic or not, you use a treat to verify low self-esteem, or it becomes part of this process that reinforces negative or poor self-esteem and negative ideas about yourself through a seemingly positive action. So even if we're going to buy something as a pick-me-up, which should be positive, at least in our messaging, can actually reinforce negative beliefs about ourselves and then also have the secondary negative effect of being a coping mechanism. And negative beliefs can filter into the justifications that we use for the pick-me-up. And let me explain. So we can say things like, my life is sad, my life sucks, like I'm a bad lawyer, I'm a shitty student, I have no friends, or like I have a horrible commute, I'm doing terribly at work, so I deserve a treat. And this too can become a habit, constant negative thinking about ourselves and then constantly needing to fix it or feel better about ourselves with treats. Like I mentioned earlier, the only thing that we can do to feel better about ourselves, or the thing that makes us feel the best when we're thinking negatively, is the treat, doesn't actually challenge those ideas we have about ourselves. Like, are you really a bad lawyer? Where is this idea even coming from? Or are you really a bad student? Are you believing these ideas that other people have told you, or something that you've internalized? We're not questioning these beliefs and where they come from to challenge them, to ultimately kick these negative habits to the curb and kick negative thinking about ourselves, out of here. We don't do any of that work, but instead try to fix that negative feeling from these negative thoughts with a treat. And we don't need to do this all the time or even every time that we think like this. Doing it on occasion can be enough to be financially damaging depending on what you're purchasing. But in these circumstances, when it comes to like negative thinking negative thinking, it can be damaging to think like that and then fix it with a treat even some of the time. Because that can even lead into a habit of thinking negative things about yourself and then just letting it be and seeing it as truth. The last thing I touch on today is how it becomes a habit, but I want to talk about specific kinds of habits. And I think there are moments in our lives, and I'm talking both positive and negative, like birthdays or holidays that happen, let's say once a year, that are kind of habitual parts of our lives. They come around every year, that we purchase on these things as a habit because, you deserve it. It's your birthday. But there are other things, both positive and negative, that happen less frequently, like breakups or a divorce, getting fired, or even the opposite, getting engaged, or getting a promotion, getting a new job, finding a new partner, whatever kind of, maybe buying a house or getting a new place. There's lots of both positive and negative events that can be really emotionally stirring. Just like, think about the last time you broke up with somebody and had a big breakup, or maybe that was a divorce for you. I can remember feeling like so emotionally devastated. I think it's the extra potent emotional circumstance that can drive us to go, I deserve it. I've had a really tough year. COVID has been shit. I deserve this thing. I deserve a new painting. I deserve a new coat. It's been a rough freaking year. I think that these particular times in our lives can just be extra compelling reasons to, you deserve it or getting a treat. So when it comes to negative events like divorce or getting fired, I think the fuck it mentality, or like, what's another drink? This may not entirely sound like you deserve it, but I think it comes from the same place. Like the I don't care, or I might as well pile on. This is emotionally driven, but if you think about it, like, I know I've been there, like fuck it, I don't care. It's kind of like saying things are so shit, I deserve whatever the hell I want. Or not even I deserve whatever the hell I want. I'm going to buy whatever the hell I want, because the emotional circumstance is so tolling that that's enough justification to get what I want. For things like birthdays, I think the spending and the you deserve it is a little bit sneaky, and one that many of us really believe in. Like, we feel special on our birthday. And I see this coming from the you deserve it mentality, because it's in essence, you deserve it because it's this day. It's ultimately like, it's just an excuse. It's just a justification we use to buy things we already want to buy, because I think we're emotionally driven. I've come to, in the past few years, with talking to lots of you, but also seeing how my partner and his family deal with birthdays. In a lot of people's families, birthdays are just not a big deal. It's literally another day because it actually is another day. And so the hoopla we put around birthdays is ultimately like a social construct because birthdays are literally no different than it being a Tuesday or buying something because it's February 1st. The only difference is that it happens to be your day today and it's somebody else's day yesterday. February 1st happens every year. March 1st happens every year. Black Friday happens once a year. It's a rationalization we tell ourselves so we can buy things. I know I've told myself, you deserve it, Shauna. It's your birthday, or go ahead. It's okay to buy something on your birthday, or even you should buy it. Like, you should celebrate yourself, or it's okay to spend a little extra today. It's your birthday. And consuming differently or more so than any other time of the year can help us make us feel more special on our birthday. I'm interested to hear from you if you've ever participated in this for birthdays, the kind of logic or messaging you've used to justify purchases. Now, I would never tell somebody, oh, like, you shouldn't buy that thing because it's your birthday. Or I wouldn't tell somebody to not buy themselves something or not buy themselves a gift on their birthday. Like, I would literally never say that in real life, because I think it's like telling somebody that you don't deserve it or that you're not special. And I think that's really telling, because I know that if somebody said that to me, even if it was coming from a good place, I think I might take that a little bit personally. And I've had conversations with you all about this topic, and you've said the same thing. So the fact that we take it personally, I think, means that we've attached consumption to our self-esteem. Like in this particular circumstance, it's so much so that if someone told us not to buy something on our birthday, we might actually feel personally attacked. Maybe personally attacked is a strong word, but like, we would feel emotionally impacted by that statement, or like we would feel like they're assassinating our character or our specialness, and it would hit us in the feels. I think I know in the past that I felt like if I couldn't get something for my birthday, like, my life was sad. I don't mean like somebody giving me a gift. I mean me buying myself a gift. Like, I should be able to buy something on my birthday, and if I don't, my life is somehow sad, which is so not true. And I think we've internalized the birthday thing in specific because of just this example. I need to buy myself a gift on my birthday to feel special. But then there's like other things, like, where does that come from? Do you not feel special elsewhere in your life? I think there's a lot more to extrapolate there. But I think ultimately it's one of the most potent examples of habits that link consumption and self-esteem. Also, like, how we feel about ourselves and, internalized messages. And capitalism is just a sneaky little bugger. So I've talked a lot in this video. I'm really curious to hear what you think about these points. If you have additional comments or observations you've made on this subject, if you agree or even disagree with what I've said, I would really like to know your opinion in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching, and hope to see you again around here soon. Bye.